you have planted your passion fruit, and now it is time for pruning. If you don't have any idea how to prune, now this video is a summary of everything you need to know about pruning. Now we ask ourselves, what is pruning? Pruning is the removal of unwanted plant so that you can enhance or increase production in your vine. So you remove unwanted or unhealthy parts of a plant to ensure that it increases production. Now we have the common question that is asked: when do I do pruning? There are several factors that can lead for you to do pruning. So number one, we have the vegetative growth. When you go to your vine and you realize there are more of vegetative, and especially old and new, so you have to remove the old vegetative, like for example the old leaves and old branches that are unproductive, and leave the new vine which are productive, the new suckers which are more productive. Then number two, we have the warm climate. So you have to make sure that it's not during the cold weather, or mostly for those countries which experience winter and summer, it's not during the winter. You have to do your pruning during summer. This will help. If you do most of the pruning during winter, you might find out that it dries off. So you have to avoid drying off of the vine. So you have to do it on warm climate. Then number three, we have, you can do pruning, or you should do pruning when you go to your farm and realize that there are diseases infestation or pest infestation. So to control those diseases or those pests, you have to prune the vine that is affected, so that it will not spread the diseases to other vine. Then number four is when you complete doing harvest. For example, in my area, you can see my vines. These are my vines, and already I'm through with harvesting. So there is no any fruit you can see, but now you can just see the new suckers which are producing flowers. So now is good time to do my pruning. Now the question number two is, how do I do pruning? Now, how do you do pruning? Number one, I want to show you something. You need two equipment. Mostly, you either need a sharp knife like this one, or scissors. So mostly, I prefer using scissors because it's much easier and very effective. Those are the only two tools you can use. Now, when you are doing pruning, you have to note that you'll be doing pruning to the old leaves. Mostly the old leaves. For example, we have these ones. You can see these ones are even starting to turn the color to around yellowish. So this one, or dark green. There are some which are not turning color, but they are in dark green mode, like these ones. So you have to remove all those old leaves, and then you also have to remove the unproductive branches. For example, this one. Now for this one, if you look at this branch, it has old leaves, and also it has no a new suckers or development of a new sucker. So you have to cut this one out. And also the dried vine. So if you find a branch that is dried, so you have to cut it off. Then also, if there is sometimes we do pruning in a vine that has fruit. Mostly we remove the fruit to allow new generation. For example, right now, although we don't have the fruit, if there was some more fruit or remaining fruit, I would have pruned them in order to allow for the new suckers to produce or to have more production, or to increase the production of the new vine or the new sucker. Your conducting pruning is very good. Key thing to note that you have to cut. Let's go to the specific. When you are cutting, for example, let's look at this one. For example, it's a very dead branch which has no. Now, I'm frozen. Now here you can see this branch. When you're cutting, don't cut it that is horizontally. So you have to make sure that you cut it like that. So to make sure that here the part you are leaving, that it's a flat, not a slanting way. So you have to make sure that you are not cutting your vine in a slant way, because it will avoid any either pest or some insect from landing. So that will help to reduce diseases infestation. So when you're pruning, also make sure that you prune not just the only sick leaves or affected leaf or by diseases, but also even some of the healthy that may prevent sunlight from reaching the whole of the vine. So if you notice, like, there is a part that has more vegetative, and it's preventing sunlight from the other parts of the vine, so you can do some pruning. Now the third question that mostly we ask is the precautions. So we have to make sure that there are precautions that are taken to make sure that the vine remains healthy when we're pruning. Number one is that we have to make sure that we don't remove every leaf. So we need the vine needs some leaves to help it generate and manufacture food through photosynthesis. So if you remove every leaf, it may end up drying off. Now, also, question number 2 is that you have to make sure that the way I told you earlier, that you have to cut it on a horizontal way, not vertical or a slanting way. So you have to avoid cutting when you're cutting using your scissors, to avoid slanting way. That one will prevent diseases attack or spread of diseases. And also, precaution number 3 is that mainly when you do pruning, for example, it is followed. You make sure that you make a habit of following it with a spray. Like, for example, after completing doing my pruning, which will be done the whole of this week, after doing pruning, there will be a follow up with a spray. This one will prevent diseases spread to those parts or to those injuries that were made during pruning. Now, precaution number 4 is that wherever you do pruning, it's good to make sure that you don't interfere or you don't damage the branches, the main branches. So the main branches are very, very, very important. For example, I'll show you with this one here. So the main branch is this one. This one is the main branch. So if you affect this one, it means that the whole of this vine, the rest of the vine, will dry off. So you have to make sure that you are dealing with minor branches. For example, if I cut this one, there will be no any issues if I cut this one. But if I interfere with the large vine and it gets an injury or a disease infestation occurs, it means that the whole of that vine will dry up. So you have to make sure that those 4 precautions you take care of. Now to the 4th question. In question number 4 is that which are the factors that lead to pruning or determine pruning? So the factors that determine pruning is number 1, age of the vine. For example, an aged vine, like for example this one, is around 3 years as now. It's 3 years old. So it has a different pruning compared to a younger vine. For example, a younger vine has less vegetative. For example, we have the block B in this head. If you compare these ones, you can see these ones, I have done the pruning already, but they are very young. It's almost 10 months old. So these ones need less pruning compared to the other block. So you have to make sure that you know the age of the vine, or the size of the also number two, the size of the vine. So the size of the vine is also determined by the growth rate. For example, it might be very young, or 1 year or 2 years, but the vegetative growth is high, or it's a lot, compared to another one which is 3 years old but has less vegetative. So you have to make sure that the more the vegetative growth, the more frequently you'll be doing pruning. So you have to make sure that. Then number number three, we have climate. So climate conditions. So is it during the rainy seasons, or is it during the sunny season? Mostly we do pruning during the sunny seasons. So you have to make sure that during the sunny seasons you are doing much of the pruning. Don't do during the rainy seasons, because during the rainy seasons the plant need to lose a lot of water, since it is uptaking a lot of water from the root, and it needs to lose the excess water. But if you do pruning during the rainy seasons, you might end up harming the vine instead of helping the vine, or to increase the production. So you have to make sure that during the rainy seasons you minimize as much as possible pruning, and arrange it to be performed during the sunny seasons. Then four, we have diseases infestations. So if your vine is attacked by a disease, and you need, or a disease or a pest, and you need to control it, it doesn't matter which period or which time of the year, you just have to do pruning. And then the last, but not the least, we have the time of harvest. So when you complete, mostly when you are done with harvesting, it's very important to do pruning, in order to ensure that you give a period of regeneration between the new suckers, production of new suckers or new fruits, and the last ones that you just harvested. So that gives a very good period to do pruning and help the vine to quicken regeneration and quicken the production, to reduce the rate of production. In question number 5, most people ask me, why should I bother doing pruning, or which are the benefits that I incur doing pruning? Now, there are a lot of benefits for doing pruning. In number 1, we have increased production. The main goal for doing passion fruit is to have or is to make profit, and you cannot make profit if you have lower production. So in order to increase production, you have to do pruning. Then number 2 is to increase, or to help the vine to adapt, or to observe enough sunlight. So sometimes you find like, when there is a lot of vegetative, most of the parts of the vine have lower sunlight, or they receive lower sunlight. So you have to do the pruning in order to increase the rate of sunlight. Then number 3, we do some pruning when there is fruit. So if you are doing pruning, for example, it helps the turning of the color of the fruit. So for example, before the harvesting time, you can do pruning that remove the excess leaves and excess branches with no fruit, and expose the fruits to the sunlight. That helps the fruit to absorb, or to have a fully tanned color, to turn the color. That one will help the quality of the fruit, hence increasing profit. Then we have number 3, it helps to reduce diseases. For example, an old vine, with a lot of branches, it may have an effect, or it will have less resistance to diseases. So you have to do the pruning in order to regenerate new suckers which are healthy and more productive, and also more resistance to diseases and pests. So you have to make sure that you remove those old branches. Then number number 4, you have to make sure that you prune to increase the longevity of the vine. So if you need your vine to go 4 or 5 years or even 6, you have to do pruning, because if it continue with the old vine, old branches, then the new suckers produce, then they become the old vine, it will have an exhaust such that it will reduce the longevity of that vine. So if it was supposed to grow for the next 5 years, it will just perform for 3 years, and then it dries off. So you have to make sure that to increase that longevity, you have to do pruning. Then number 5, we have to do pruning in order to ensure that we have equal distribution of the nutrients. So in order to have high quality fruit, the fruit, we have to remove the excess leaves, excess branches that are using nutrients but they are not benefiting anything. So in order to ensure that some of the fruits that will be produced will be of high quality, we have to make sure that we remove the old branches which have no any benefit in the vine. And there are a lot of benefits, other benefits. Then we have the last questions. Okay, number 6. If you have any questions, other questions, you can ask in the comment below, and I'll answer them. Now, in question number 6, which are the parts that are being done pruning? Mostly, the major part is the old leaves, the old branches or unproductive branches, the dried branches. Also, you also do pruning some fruit. In some cases, rare cases, we do pruning in fruit. So those are the major, and also some strings. The strings are these ones, the attaching strings, for example, these ones. So in order to avoid like most of them attaching together, so you can remove the attaching strings, these ones. So those ones are the major parts that are being done pruning. Sometimes, in some instances, for example, a disease infestation, and you cannot control a specific branch, or the disease has spread to the whole vine, the whole stem, it's advisable to just uproot the whole vine and remove the whole branches and dispose them away from the farm, in order to avoid, in cases some of these vine radiates to the ground and come into contact with the same vine you uprooted. So you have to burn them or bury them away from the farm. And thank you for watching. If you need more videos, I'll add some links in the description below, and also I'll also add in the comment box below. You'll see the 4 videos mainly explaining further details about each and every questions or topic involving pruning. So thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe and like, and also you can share with your friends. Thank you.